If abortion is such a good thing for the Black community, then why they don't have any abortion clinics at the border? Why they don't have any abortion clinics in white wealthy communities, right? It's population control. And it goes beyond just abortion. It's what they're doing with the remains of the babies afterwards. Like, it's a sick, twisted thing. It was legalized. It was a way to keep our numbers down. Since abortion was legalized in 1973, we've remained at 13% of the population. We have not grown.
Welcome back, Warriors. It's me, Linda B. Thank you all so much for joining me here today. All right, we have the goddaughter of Alveda King, and Alveda King is the niece of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. We have her here on this podcast, and I'll leave the link to the podcast in the description box below, and she is dropping some powerful truths. Her name is Angela Stanton King. This is what we'll be talking about today on Chat With Me, Linda B. All right, Warriors, you know what to do. Don't forget to smash that like button, comment, share, subscribe to my channel if you have not already. Select all notifications. Stick around to the end. Let's go. Woo! This is a powerful clip that I'm going to share with you. I'm not going to share with you the whole clip. It's a little long, but I am going to let you hear Angela Stanton King. She does a lot of talking about legislation, how Black people continue to vote and hurt our own communities. She talks about President Trump. She talks about RFK Jr., Kamala Harris, Obama, Biden. She talks about them. And I want you to really, really listen to what she has to say, because now the language is a little spicy. Okay, the language is tough. Okay, so I'm going to try to edit out a little bit of it, but some of it just has to go through because it takes a very long time. But listen to this clip right here, where she is really addressing some truths about President Trump that a lot of Black people just don't believe.
So the 95 crime bill was never reversed.
94 crime bill. It was reversed. It was reversed by President Trump with the passing of the First Step Act. And a lot of people don't know that, and the media does not tell that. But we need to understand that while we are fighting to reunite families at the border, we need to reunite the families in the border, our own families.
Why do you feel like people aren't really marketing the good things that Trump has done? Because I didn't even know he reversed that crime bill.
Because it's a political game, because they have to keep us controlled by our emotions. Because if I can control your emotion, then I can control your vote. If I can tell you that Donald Trump is a racist, and you believe that, then I can get you to vote for me regardless of what legislation I'm passing or pushing through, whether it benefits you or not. Because, like I said, they're voting for the person and not necessarily the party.
Well said. I want to change gears a little bit and talk about your time working under Robert F. Kennedy. Talk about your day-to-day duties with him as his advisor, right?
Yeah, not only advising him on certain issues, but helping to schedule some of his visits, doing some of his PR, helping to write some of his policies. More Choices, More Life was a policy that I was heavily involved in. Also making sure that not only he was educated, but that he went and got the information and educated me on what's happening with the maternal health crisis, making sure that that's something that they take up at the HHS. So for me, my life has been nothing short of amazing, to be able to have access to not only the King family, but the Trump family and the Kennedy family, regardless of how people feel about them. Those are three legacies, and all the work that I've done with each one of those people has been to better our community.
And do you still work for Robert F. Kennedy today?
I work directly with Robert F. Kennedy. Robert F. Kennedy has become kind of like my dad. I'm one of those kids he's just took up under his wing, and we developed a very personal relationship because he's worked most of his career. If you look up Robert F. Kennedy and who he is, has been spent on exposing medical apartheid and what they have done to our community, through medical practices. So this is something that's very dear to his heart. And I was somebody that ran his Black engagement. He know how serious I am about the community, and I just love who he is. I love his family. I'm connected to his family, to the Trump family, to the King family. To know me is to love me. And regardless of what people say in the media, they are interested and invested in helping our communities get better.
And speaking of, very well said, speaking of the media, I watched a past interview that you did with Roland Martin, where you guys were debating a commercial ad during the Trump campaign. So my question to you is, I feel like you guys got into a debate about the ad that you guys were talking about, but in your words, what is a good network or reputable source for media news that you know is giving 100% facts?
I wish I could give them one. I mean, you got to get online now and do your own research. Like, you really can't believe. And I wouldn't advise you to believe anything that anybody says. Now, I'm a real one. I'll tell you the truth. But guess what? You still need to go research for yourself, because what happens is a lot of times media personalities or even the news, they're going to take a clip of something and then give you their narrative based off of that clip, versus you going and watching the whole entire thing yourself to see what was said before, what was said after. So the best source of news is your own personal research. We're just in a day and age where people can say and do anything and put anything on social media without even fact checking. So you guys have to do your own research.
I love it. Let's dive into the babies and Planned Parenthood, something you're very, very big on. First, what are your personal hopes for the Planned Parenthood and mothers across the U.S.?
What's a Planned Parenthood mother?
Well, not a Planned Parenthood mother. Like, what's your thoughts for both Planned Parenthood and mothers across the U.S.?
Well, I mean, a lot of people, if you know who Angela Stanton is, this is not going to shock you. But if you don't know who Angela Stanton King is, I want every Planned Parenthood across the nation closed down. Because when you think about their strategic placement, 80% of their clinics are in our communities. And I ask people all the time, if abortion is such a good thing for the Black community, then why they don't have any abortion clinics at the border? Why they don't have any abortion clinics in white wealthy communities, right? It's population control. And it goes beyond just abortion. It's what they're doing with the remains of the babies afterwards. Like, it's a sick, twisted thing. It was legalized. It was a way to keep our numbers down. Since abortion was legalized in 1973, we've remained at 13% of the population. We have not grown. It's a message that I'm never going to stop preaching, because like most of us my age, we were raised with abortion being legal. So a lot of us don't see nothing wrong with it, because it's just been legal. It's been a part of life. But at one point, slavery was legal too. So when you begin to break down Planned Parenthood, the founder, who Margaret Sanger was, what their intention was to basically eradicate the Black community. They wanted to get rid of us.
Right.
And that's why we don't see the KKK no more, right? They don't have to show up to our door in hoods anymore, because they've convinced us to terminate life before it even begins.
Black men at home with these wives.
Well, you can't get Black men if you're gonna abort them. He got to be born first, and then after he born, he got to remain a Black man. You can't transition him. You can't chemically castrate him, right? We have a job to do. We birth Black men, right? So if we want Black men back in the home, if we have to begin to respect. If we want to restore the value of Black life, it begins in the womb. We all have to do our part. Like, this ain't a part where we can toss the ball like and make this shit happen. And we all need each other. We need the mama, we need the daddy, and we need the babies. Because guess what? We ain't gonna live forever.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? 20, 30 years from now, I may not be able to sit on this stage, but guess what? I brought 5 lives into this world to carry the torch. We have a responsibility to reproduce, to protect, to maintain, to preserve Black life.
I love it. 100% love it. I love it. I love it.
Choice is to be made before the baby, because see, once that life is created, there's only one way to end it. It don't matter if you 2 days pregnant or 9 months pregnant. Once that life has been created, there's only one way to end it. And we can sit up here and debate all day or whether or not it's a baby, it's a fetus. If it wasn't alive, you wouldn't need an abortion to kill it. Dead things do not grow, okay? And any woman in here that has had it, like, we all got here the same way. Our mama had to get pregnant, right? It's lifespan development. You go from being an embryo to a fetus, to an infant, to whatever you want, a baby, a toddler, an adolescent, an adult. It is lifespan development, just like a tadpole. He's a tadpole before he becomes a frog, but he's still alive. Right? So if we want them to value our lives, then we have to value the lives that we create, because we're the creators of Black life.
All right, so that was Angela Stanton King. Okay, now she is, again, the goddaughter of Alveda King, and Alveda King is the niece of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Now, she dropped a lot of truth. I didn't necessarily agree with everything she said, but she talked about some other things. I'll leave the full clip in the description box below, but it is absolutely powerful. And a lot of people don't realize that the 94 crime bill took a lot of Black men. Again, the Democrat Party took a lot of Black men and imprisoned them, separating them from their families. But they want to take up for these illegals, saying that President Trump is separating families. If they came here illegally, they could go back illegally. That is just a fact. So again, Democrats, very hypocritical. Every time you hear one talking, and I'm not going to let the Republicans go either. One thing I do want to mention before I continue with talking about Angela Stanton King, she did vote for RFK and not Trump. But President Trump is the one that repealed the 94 crime bill. I mean, with the First Step Act, he is the one that passed legislation because, if I remember correctly, Angela Stanton King gave birth while in prison. And there was legislation that President Trump passed so that a woman who's pregnant would never have to do that, chained down like that. So she had her first introduction, I think, with President Trump. And he did so much, it made me wonder, like, why did you vote for RFK? And RFK speaks very kindly of President Trump. But in any event, she's connected to all the families, the Kennedys, the Trumps. She's connected. And the King family as well. So what she said about President Trump is true. He did the First Step Act and the Second Step Act. And she talks about other things, like if a person committed a crime when they're 19, they should not have that scarlet letter, so to speak, on them their entire lives, because that was a decision they made when they were just a child and they were being dumb, just stupid, and they're not doing those things anymore. That should be something that should not just be stuck to them, because it's going to make life harder for them. And then if that's the case, they're more likely to go back into the prison system. But I love the fact that she is for saving life. Okay. And she talked about how at the DNC Democrat National Convention last year, where Kamala Harris was, speaking, of course, and other people, there were literally vans, mobile units doing abortions and vasectomies on people. This was in Chicago, near Black neighborhoods. So we got to be able to discern who our real enemies are, because a lot of Black people don't know this. And she really dropped truth when she said, if I can make you emotional about saying this person is a racist, then I can make you emotional with your vote. All I got to do is say that. And that is why Democrats do it. They bring up race every chance they get. But the problem for them is that a lot of people realize that they've been lying. So they have a problem in that party, and it is not going to get better because they don't learn from their mistakes. But I'll leave the full video in the description box below so you can check it out. But this is Angela Stanton King. She is the goddaughter of Alveda King. She drops so much truth, and it is my personal belief that this was a depopulation movement against Black people. How do you think drugs got into Black neighborhoods? How do you think the gangs began? We vote the way that actually harms us instead of helping us. And then people want to say, untruthfully so, that the parties switched. They did not. The Democrat Party got farther and farther progressive, and people in the South were like, I can't vote for this party anymore. They're for other stuff that I'm not for. And because the Democrats up north became the primary voice of the Democrat Party. And we had the Dixiecrats in the South. But then, the South is the Bible Belt. So we don't go for certain types of things. I don't even have to say what those things are, but I will let you know what I'm talking about, like the alphabet stuff and other things and abortion. People in the South are just more biblical the way we were raised. Not saying we're better. Didn't say that. But some things we just can't go for. Tell me what you think about what Angela Stanton King said. She is a conservative speaker. It says online that she's a Republican, but she said she's an independent out of her mouth. Okay, and she's an author as well. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. Don't forget, I am here Mondays through Thursdays, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on YouTube, doing a live. That's right. We go back and forth. We have a great time with our live shows. Really exciting. I highlight your comments. We engage back and forth Mondays through Thursdays at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on YouTube. You all be blessed. Love God, your families, these United States of America, and march on, warriors.